Good afternoon. It's Friday, 25th, I think, of January. I've lost track of the days. Yesterday was wet and filthy and horrible and and cold. I feel cold in the damp. Didn't feel cold in the snow the other day, but I felt cold in the damp. So there you go. There's a craft with hardly any dashboard left. And as you can see, seat box is out. All the electrics are gone. I've spent this morning removing the remaining, or the third wiring loom, the one that went up into the dashboard, and making good various connections they've made, bodgy connections they've done using bits of wire wrapped together and taped. Not all of them were soldered. Nasty. Anyway, all done, all soldered up, heat shrink on. Now, didn't expect to dismantle it quite to the level of I did, but I'm always impressed with how these CAD systems or whatever they use puts these dashboards together. They are very intuitive to take to pieces, and in this case every single screw is the same length as well. It's brilliant. I will be putting most of it back together again shortly. I'm not going to bore you with doing it, but one thing I did need to do is take the steering wheel off. That's because I've got a cruise control retrofit kit to fit, so I had to get the steering wheel off to do that. And I took the cluster out because it's had a coffee attack. There is coffee in the cluster and there's coffee in the binnacle that goes around the cluster. Not actually in the instruments themselves, but you know, it's all run down where the ambulance driver must have had a cup in his hand, stamped the brakes and, alright, well, spat it all over the place. But it's run down in part of the plastic, so they're going to go inside and excuse me, a bit croaky this week. They're going to go inside and get cleaned up. The cable that was sticking out over there, just behind that little hooded thing, which is the reversing sensor gadget, which I think is an aftermarket fitting. The cable that's sticking up behind there that the radio used to fit into was actually chopped off at both ends. I found it coiled up under the dashboard, so that one was easy enough. And whilst pulling wires out, because they'd actually taken a couple of feeds off the ignition switch as well, I discovered that this little hooded thing, which is a set of LEDs and a beeper and stuff, it's only got a feed, a 12 volts and ground feed. That means it's using radio or something similar, and the sender that's underneath the back of the vehicle, same. I'm guessing there's only two wires, unless it's sending it, you know, pulsing it down the ground wire or something like that. But useful little gadget. It certainly makes a hell of a racket when the sensor was masked off and falling out the back of the van the other day. So, whoops, let's just zoom back out again. But very easy to pull to pieces, and as I say, all the screws are the same size and they're all tucked away in a little pocket over there at the moment. I've taken the passenger seat box out simply to clean under it. They were fruit nuts in this van. There was fruit everywhere, grapes, bits of apple, it's all over the place. So I've taken it out and given the floor pan a good wash because it needed it. Everything was sticky. The steering wheel went in and had a good scrub as well yesterday. That was really gungy and just, you know, it's, basically, I suppose they do use cleaners to clean these vans up, but maybe they don't concentrate on the cab area. Maybe they just concentrate on the back end where the patients have been. But that's enough inside the van. I will start putting it back together now because I want to test out all the electrics, make sure everything's working properly, and then I'll probably strip it down again in a few more weeks when I start wiring things in for real. Those two red cables there, by the way, just sitting there, they're the ones that go to the battery guard 2000 isolator. I've extracted that out. There's one odd wire that's part of the main harness, which is behind me. There's a bit of board they took out. The main harness, the battery guard unit, has got one wire that's going off to relay. Why it's got ignition written in it and why they needed a relay, I don't know. But there wasn't anything under the you know, the relay wasn't doing anything, it wasn't isolating anything or anything like that. So I'm just going to lay that out, check what it was doing, because I've recorded where all the cables went, so I've got a very good idea. There's a bumper. I had to stick one of the sensors back in, and I bought some new reflectors as well. Both of them were smashed. And £12 on eBay, couple of reflectors. Yeah, can't grumble really. There's a clean steering wheel, waiting to go back in. And down there, will it come up? Let's do a bit of light on the subject. There are all the plastic parts I've pulled out of the dashboard. All set aside. It doesn't look like it's coming out particularly well in my at the moment, so nothing really to see there, but they're all the bits of the dashboard. Tesco's crates. Hands up, who hasn't got several Tesco's crates? They are brilliant things. We've ended up with quite a few. I've got stuff in them labelled up all over the place. They're fantastic. I've got magazines. We've got probably got 20 in total, I think, and they are worth having. I don't know whether you can buy them online or not, but they are brilliant things. Very strong, very stackable, fit nicely under my workbenches. Can't get enough of them. Tea's just arrived, that's handy. There you are, there's a row of holes. I've taken all the plastic clips out, I've cleaned the side, and once I've got the tow bar fitted and a bit of rust that I need to deal with, oh, the door's open. Don't know whether to show or not, let's see. It's had a bit of a bang on the back of this, there's a bit of deflection there, but right in that very corner over there, right just there, there's a little bit of rust, which I've just put a blob of Curust on, because I'm waiting for a dry day, and then I'm going to get my grinder, brush on the grinder, take it out back to bare metal and treat it. But there's a bit of a bend in the metalwork there, and that's been reversed into something. Door's okay, which makes you think why. Probably means they banged the door out, or it's got a different door on it. But that's the only bit of rust of any real significance. And as you can see, then there's a little bit there, just where the seal is. And again, I'm going to take that back to bare metal, and then I'm going to use some of this built Hamber epoxy mastic. It's been highly recommended by people on one of the motorhome builder forums, so I'm going to give that a go. Everybody seems to think that Hammerite's a bit old hat nowadays, so I'll go with the recommendation of the expert, get this stuff back to bare metal, prime it with the zinc primer, which I just happen to have a brand new can of, left over from when I did the V8, and there's another bit of rust there, look, it's just surface rust, all needs cleaning up and dealing with. But yeah, that's probably the most noticeable bit of rust on the entire van, and that's simply because the paint's been cracked, it's come off, and it's been allowed to get hold. Zoom back out. But as I say, the side there, those clips were dead easy to remove, and when I stick the side pieces back on, I will put a little drop of silicone on each one, just to make sure they can't leak into the van, especially into any kind of insulation. I mean, PIR insulation will absorb water. Not supposed to, but it will. I've seen it happen. I've seen it go very spongy. I think on Project Amber, he's got PIR insulation in his floor, and he had a soggy floor, and you could see the insulation was also saturated. The caravan that I converted into a chicken coop had a blue type of expanded foam type of insulation in the floor, and that was unbelievably heavy. It was incredibly saturated with water. So I don't want anything dripping into the van and soaking into anything. The remaining side panels, I will deal with those when the weather gets warmer. But these ones, I will do these first, because obviously once I've cleaned up the bumper, cleaned up the metalwork here, I may just do that piece on its own initially. I can get the bumper back on. Obviously what I don't want there is this end of the van is exposed to the elements, or elephants if you like to call them elephants, exposed to the elements, and if it chucks it down it's going to get water in there, and yeah, at the moment it doesn't matter, but anyway, so that was my update for Friday. I'm going to stop now, let you get back to your day. I know my videos have been a bit long recently. I'm going to try and keep them to less than 5-10 minutes, and maybe have a summary at the end of each week. But anyway, if I don't make another one during this weekend. Have a good weekend, and I'll produce another one later next week. Bye bye.